What's up, Tweeners? Welcome back to another Tweener tennis video today here on the channel, and today we have a very special guest, Gill Gross from Monday Match Analysis, to break down the men and women's draws for this year's Wimbledon Championships. Now, this is the first Wimbledon that we've had in about 2 years now. No, 1 year, I should say now. So it's very exciting to see this tournament be back, and this Grand Slam, for that matter, to be back, even though Rafa, Osaka, Wawrinka, and a couple other players are not playing in it. We are still going to be very excited to see who is going to take home this year's title. I was very happy to have Gill on and his insight. He has a lot of cool stuff going on his channel, so make sure, if you are not subscribed to his channel already, make sure to go subscribe to his channel. The link to his channel is down in the description below, as well as making sure you're subscribed here to Tweener Head Tennis. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so every sub helps, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you guys. Enjoy.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Gill, are you excited? I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's good to see you again, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this tournament, especially because it's been 2 years. There's a lot of talk about like oversaturation in tennis and whether or not it exists. And one thing we are definitely not oversaturated in is Wimbledon's.
And Wimbledon, honestly, probably one of the most fun tournaments to watch, just because of the atmosphere and just the tradition that everyone kind of equates tennis to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the beauty. I got to go in 2019. It's so unique. It's so like the fact
I haven't been.
Yeah, it's man. I think like the feeling of like collectively everyone just focused on the tennis and no BS. I mean, you know, and look, I love the U.S. Open to death. But if I can just use it as a comparison, U.S. Open, you have music blaring at the changeovers.
Yep.
You have fans going on the kiss cam or whatever, right? And not, you know, whatever. You have fans being shown. Yeah, you have people drinking cocktails in the suites. You have everyone in the upper deck on their phones. Some people half paying attention. Wimbledon, it's like, no, this is tennis. We are watching. Everybody shut up.
I think that's going to be the preview of this. This is tennis. Everyone shut up. I'm going to make you a t-shirt. That's going to be your t-shirt. Quote, Gill Gross. But the tradition and everything, there's a lot of questions going into it, because after Roger crashed out of Roland Garros after he retired, there was a lot of questions surrounding that. Serena just announced today, as we're recording this, that she's not going to be participating in the Olympics. Rafa pulled out of Wimbledon. Osaka's out of Wimbledon. It was a whirlwind for about 3 straight days before Serena just announced this. So what are your initial thoughts going into this before we break down everything?
I think the Olympics are an interesting deal for these players. It's definitely not helpful for the season. You don't make any money. You don't get any rankings points. You go to somewhere foreign in weird conditions. You're concerned, I think, about how much, you know, training you're going to be able to do in terms of how that's regulated and limited and what the facilities are like. And also the extra travel, just going to Japan at this time of year. I think we forget about simple things like jet lag and adjusting time zones. So it's a major inconvenience if your priority isn't, well, let me just play in this incredibly prestigious games that all athletes, you know, really dream about participating in. If that isn't important to you, and what's important to you is the season and doing well on the ATP or the WTA tour, it makes total sense not to play in the Olympics. So it feels like, you know, Wimbledon right now is the priority, and, you know, kind of makes sense.
It does make sense for the most part of it. I thought it was really interesting. I think Osaka's decision was the most interesting because after Roland Garros, that whole situation that happened, the British media was not going to take it lightly that she wasn't going to be doing press. And I think that was the right move for her mentally, and to go back to her home country and represent Japan in Tokyo was, I think, the perfect, most sound of mind move for her.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say because rightly so, like most of her decision making is kept private for the most part. at least when it comes to, okay, I'm not playing Wimbledon, and she's just, taking a mental health break would be, I think, the best way to put it. But, the Tokyo Olympics are something where I almost feel like her hand is kind of forced. She, that's an event she pretty much is going to. I mean, she doesn't need to play it, but certainly ever since she broke onto the scene, I'd say, winning the US Open in, I think, 2018, it was, oh, wow, the next Olympics are in Tokyo. The biggest star that Japan has outside of baseball is Naomi Osaka. She's going to be the centerpiece of this Olympics. It was kind of the realization. And now it's not as exciting of an Olympics because of the COVID issues and the fact that, some people don't even think it should happen on the ground in Japan. But it would have been a really difficult one for her to skip. The fact that she's skipping Wimbledon, I would say, just sheds light on how serious her situation is, how much she needs to take this time off, because skipping Wimbledon is just no joking matter for any player. It's even a step further for her than pulling out of the French Open, having already played, wanting things to kind of cool off. And I think Wimbledon's a much better surface for her. I've seen a lot of people say that oh, she can't win it. Of course she can win Wimbledon. If you can win the Australian Open, you're great on fast courts, you have a big serve, a massively powerful game, you take the ball early. Of course she's a contender at Wimbledon. It doesn't matter that she doesn't have results on there thus far.
And it shocks me how people think what you were just saying. Wimbledon is the best transition from hard court to winning a slam, because if you're able to pound the ball that hard, grass is the perfect surface for you. I don't understand how someone can say that about a 3-time Grand Slam champion now. Yeah.
Four.
Yeah. Jesus
Christ.
Because
two U.S. Opens and
US
two
Opens,
Aussies.
Two Aussies. That's right. Wow, I've been in a giant hole. So let's break down some of the numbers, because I was looking at some of the odds before this, because now that betting has become integrated into tennis, some of the odds kind of surprised me. I'm not going to lie. If I look at the men's first, Novak is obviously the first one to be favored. He's 4-5 odds to win. Next is Medvedev from 7-1. And I think that's because he just won Mallorca. Next is Tsitsipas, then Federer, Berrettini, Zverev. Those are the 6 top favorites. And actually, it's funny because Shapo and Felix Auger-Aliassime have the same odds to win Wimbledon outright.
What are those odds?
50-1. Rublev is 33-1.
Okay.
Thoughts on that?
What sticks out to me there?
Yeah.
I would say they sound pretty good to me. I think Medvedev should be the second favorite after Novak. I have him advancing to the final. I think a lot of people will say, well, Berrettini's too low. I think they have that right. I think that's just, that's about correct. He's in a quarter with Humbert and Zverev. And I think if Berrettini plays Zverev, I think we see kind of what we saw in Madrid, a similar thing. And I think Zverev could come through there. Novak is, feels like as big a favorite as we've had at a major outside of Nadal at the French.
I know.
Maybe since Federer in 2017 at Wimbledon. It's hard to put myself in the time machine there and, imagine what we were thinking. But I know that Federer was a massive favorite coming into Wimbledon 2017. And then he ended up not even dropping a set on his way to victory. This feels similar for Novak, and he's in a nice quarter where, you feel like the main contenders is going to be Rublev to get out of his quarter. And then I think the section below him with Tsitsipas, I think that section might get insane. That might get all over the place. I don't know that Tsitsipas, I don't know how comfortable you can be just putting him through that section. I think it's going to be interesting.
Well, if we look at that section specifically, the seeds in that section are Besha Shively. He's playing Murray in the first round, so whoever set that up is nuts. Opelka, Batista Agut, De Minaur, Shapo, Evans, Khachanov. and Tsitsipas is playing Tiafoe in the first round. So
it's such a good quarter.
It's such a good quarter. I don't understand how you could pick a particular person in this draw, because while Tsitsipas is trying to kind of recover and try to make sure that he does well at this tournament, if we were to pick the best ranked players, he would probably meet either Khachanov or McDonald, because I think McDonald could actually beat Khachanov in the first round. That's just my own opinion.
Yeah, I think he will as well.
Evans is in a good quarter because he would have to play De Minaur, but De Minaur's playing quarter in the first round. That's It's insane, because then Millman's playing Batista Agut in the first round. And then do you think Murray's going to get out of the first round against Bashili-Shively?
I think so. I have a feeling, yes. But that's a toss-up. The thing about this quarter is there's only one seeded player who would really surprise me if they made the semifinal, and that would be Khachanov. That I don't see.
Same thing.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, you can put any of them through, and I'd be like, yep, okay. Like, I could see it.
It makes sense, right? It just, if you think about it, you name all these players, even the unseeded players, like Herbert is a decent grass court player. Andujar beat Federer this year at, what was it?
It was Geneva.
Geneva. That's what it was. Murray, Kupfer's playing Opelka. Kecmanovic is a young Korda. Thank you. I mean, all these guys, even Feliciano Lopez, a veteran, is playing Evans. Like, I have no idea how that match is going to go. It's going to be a slice backhand to each other every single time.
Yeah. That's an interesting one too. Do you have a pick out of this quarter?
As of right now, it would probably be, if Murray can hold his own, I would have him play Shapo in the third round, and then honestly, I could have Opelka going to the quarters. If Opelka's on and he's healthy, it would be
so then you'd have Opelka, Tsitsipas.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if Korda got to the third round.
Okay,
because
so
if you look at just that section, De Minaur or Korda would play Zhang or Hong in the second, and then the winner of Evans, Lopez, Lajovic, and Simon. Like, I think it's going to be between De Minaur and Korda, so whoever's going to win those three matches to get to Tsitsipas.
Right. So I have RBA taking out Opelka, and then it ends up being Shapo against Tsitsipas in my quarterfinal.
Okay.
And because Shapo's a pretty bad matchup for RBA.
Yes.
Just in terms of the fact, like, RBA really just hits to the ad side and relentlessly, and Shapo's like, okay, this is my forehand. And then the same thing, Tsitsipas Shapovalov has always been a bad matchup for Stefanos.
Yeah.
So I have Shapo to the semifinals, and I did not anticipate I would pick that. Like, coming into,
that's crazy.
Before the draw came out, that was not on my radar, but that's just how it shook out for me when I was picking all the matches.
What's their head-to-head?
They've played 4 times, and Shapo's won 3.
All on hard court, or has one of them been on a different surface?
They've been, I think, all on hard court.
Okay.
I can check.
I actually wanted to point out on the top half where Rublev and Novak are, you have to admit that Draper just got screwed. I'm not going to lie.
Did he? I don't know.
He's playing Novak in the first round. Like, come on.
It's going to be fun. Look, he's 19 years old. This isn't about, like, I don't think it's a big deal for him that he's going to lose in the first round.
Okay.
I think it'll be a good showcase. He'll have his moments. He'll never forget it. Wimbledon, center court. I think it's the first match on. It opens the tournament.
Dear
I
God.
believe. So I think I don't feel bad for him. I think it's going to be fun. I don't know.
I agree. What's interesting to me, that top half, who I think is going to be sneaky good, besides freaking Sinner, even though he's seeded, is Davidovich Fokina, the junior Wimbledon champion. He won it after Shapo won it. Honestly, I could see him getting to the third round because it's Kudla, Seppi Souza, and then he plays Novak in the third. I think honestly that's going to be the toughest match because who would he play in the fourth round, Novak, if he won? Monfils or Christian Garin, and Garin's probably going to lose. Maybe I actually think Pullman's could actually win.
It's such a bad. So now we're talking about like one of the worst sections of the draw. The bottom quarter is bad too. That's what happens when the Tsitsipas quarter hoards all of the players. So I'm not high on Davidovich Fokina actually. I know
Really?
I know
Why not?
I don't think his serve is good enough to do damage at Wimbledon at the tour level here.
Okay.
I think it's one thing doing it as a junior, and I don't know where his serve. I think it used to be better, and his technique was different, and I used to like it better. I just think he needs to sort that out. It doesn't hurt him much on clay. He breaks serve a ton. He starts the point. It's just not a big deal. But I think at Wimbledon, he plays Kudla in the first round, who adores the grass. Like it's just his. This is
his baby.
This is his surface.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think Kudla comes through, and also Davidovich Fokina pulled out with an ab injury in Eastbourne, I believe.
Yes.
I don't know that it's that bad, but something to watch out for.
I agree, and I actually wanted to circle back, moving to that bottom half of the draw with the Berrettini and Zverev side, because Kyrgios, the man is coming back. He's actually playing a tournament this year, which is nice to see. He's playing the 21 seed Humbert. Thoughts?
Thoughts is that brutal draw, good for our entertainment.
Yes.
I mean, Humbert should be the favorite there, obviously with Kyrgios having played after 0 matches other than the Aussie. So it's been a while. Certainly been a while, and Humbert is just dirty. Like he is so nasty. They played in Australia, and it took 5 sets, and Kyrgios had the crowd behind him in a major way. Played a great match. I remember doing analysis on that match, and Humbert's biggest mistake was continuously serving to Kyrgios' strong return, which is his backhand return. You got to serve to Nick's forehand. It's like a no-brainer tactically.
Exactly.
So we'll see if he corrects that. But the way Humbert plays on this surface, how much his spot serving, his lefty slice serve, the way he changes direction on his like short backswings and hits really flat, gets through the court. He's a monster on the surface. So I make him a favorite.
He did so well in Hall too. To see him play someone like Kyrgios in the first round. It's probably the toughest test that you can ask for as a seed, because if you look literally right below it, you have Fritz playing Nakashima, and Nakashima just won through qualifying. So that's going to be a fun test to see those two Americans battle it out. And do you see an upset here from Nakashima?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's miraculous that Fritz is playing. Because
that's also very true. I forgot about that. And he went through surgery and is now playing, and it's been 2 months? Not even.
I don't think it's been 2 months. So yeah, like he tore. I don't know if he tore his meniscus. I think he did. So good for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good for Fritz for that. I don't know. Nakashima's got an amazing backhand, which is pretty well documented, and I think it's nice on the grass because one of the things that some of the best backhands in the world even lack is just like finishing power on clay, for example, or on slower courts, where it's like, okay, let's say I'll use the example of Zverev or Medvedev. Great backhands, but on the slowest surfaces in the world, you're still not really ripping winners from behind the baseline, even though you have a great backhand. It just doesn't have that smoke on it that the forehands do. But I think on grass, when you get these awesome elite backhands, like we just mentioned Kudla, who has the other good American backhand, it really helps on grass because now if you really line up a good backhand down the line on grass, you're getting rewarded a lot more with a winner or a forced error. So I like Nakashima a lot, and I would put him through there.
Okay. And then the other American that I have to point out is Sam Querrey, who's playing Karina Busta. I think Querrey actually could actually get 2 rounds in here because he plays Karina Busta, then plays the winner of Duckworth and Albot, and then what is it, Coria? I think it is Coria.
I think it might be Chiria.
Chiria?
I don't know though. I think I would say Chiria.
Chiria.
But it might be Coria.
All right, we'll go with Chiria. I'll go by your judgment.
I have Querrey to the 4th round. He's
okay,
someone to watch.
That's what I thought too. Because below that you have Hurkacz and Musetti. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch on grass. And then all the way at the bottom, of course, Struff has to play a seeded player in the first round because because we have to have that set up immediately for the first round. And honestly, I hate to say it, but for the guy who is the second highest to win, at least in the odds, second highest to win at Wimbledon, is playing Struff. Struff. I mean, how would you say it? Is this like another upset alert, or is this like Medvedev is good to go?
As much as I love Medvedev for this tournament, it has to be an upset alert because it's Struff.
Yes.
It's just how this is. Right. I mean, he's just really good, and I just don't know how he can't get in the top 32 seeds for these majors, because it just feels like every single major, it's just like he's the 34th player in the world, and it's like, can you please get seated for everyone? Like, everyone would benefit from this.
Everyone would have a less stressful time as a tennis fan because they could finally see someone who beats these top guys actually go far in a Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm. So Struff beat Medvedev earlier in the year. It was either Stuttgart or Halle in best of 3. I think just since then, Medvedev decided, okay, let me play Mallorca because I didn't get the matches I wanted on this surface. I think that'll make all the difference that Medvedev has now gotten his feet under him, gotten his confidence. I think when at the time they played, Struff was the far more experienced player on grass, and it was a close match, and Struff played great. And I expect him to play well again here. It's a dangerous matchup, but I think Medvedev has really improved his passing shots. He might need to move up his return position if Struff starts serving volleying a lot, and I'm interested to see that. But, I have Medvedev coming through, but it's a dangerous one. I think anyone can see that it's a dangerous one.
It's a very dangerous one, and they would play the winner of Uchiyama and Alcaraz, and I have no idea how Alcaraz will do on grass, to be completely honest with you. But if this was a clay court tournament, I would say this guy's getting through. The last person I have to talk about before we move on to the women's draw is Roger. I mean, I've asked this question before to many people. I'm going to ask you, since I have you here. This isn't his last Wimbledon, is it?
No, okay. I don't think so at all. I found it kind of strange when he withdrew from the French that people thought, well, okay, that might be it. I see no indication of that, other than, I guess there's a scenario where for the rest of 2021, Federer can barely string 2 match victories together, realizes how far away he is, realizes he'll never get to where he needs to be, and then decides, well, I don't really feel like going through a full 2022 season.
Yeah.
If this is going to be what it's going to be like. With that being said, considering the fact that he beat Marin Cilic at the French, beat Dominic Kepfer, fought through some really bad fatigue, clearly wasn't at 100% fitness. It was nighttime, high humidity, at least won the match, didn't look great. But considering the fact that he did that, that tells me that it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like Roger Federer can't win a tennis match. That's not how this is going to work. He runs into FAA, who is a great grass court player. It's his best surface by far. I think he's a top 10 player on grass when he's on.
Yeah.
And, loses that match. It's nothing to really get too alarmed about. It is what it is. So I just don't see any indication that this is Federer's swan song right now.
I agree. And with a draw like this, that seems like he can make the quarters pretty easily compared to the amount of players that may not have that grass court experience. Maybe Nori, maybe Query. Like, it's not impossible for him. So I think if we can see him easily win through the quarterfinals, I think he definitely has a shot to prove to everyone that he's still able to consistently win, especially on the surface. Favorite is Novak. Yeah, that's all I can say about who's going to win it all, to be honest with you. Do you have anyone else that you see winning this?
Not really. It's, I don't pick Novak with any sort of hesitancy or doubts. Especially because it's not like he has a murderer's row. If he had a murderer's row, I might pick him anyway.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have that.
No.
I just think with Novak, what's going to be interesting to see from like a nerdy perspective, which is me, his serve is much improved starting in 2019 and through 2020. And we have not seen that serve on the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see just how effective that is. Can he repeat a performance like we saw in Australia where he served over 100 aces and led the field in aces? We're talking about the best returner on the tour. And I just think it's a scary thing. Plus, the way he moves on grass, the way he slides on this surface and defends, it's so far and away better than everyone else.
It's just another level that no one else can compare to and do it maybe as well as him. Not even close, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I just think as Novak's career has gone on, the distance between him and others at Wimbledon has increased. And obviously Roger at his best is one of the best Wimbledon players, probably the best Wimbledon player we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
It's either, him, Novak, or Sampras. It's pretty hard to say. Yeah. But other than that, nobody can touch him. And it just looks like Federer will not be at the all-time great Federer level for this tournament, which makes it pretty simple.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. And I think no one can really dispute it unless you're a hardcore Fed fan. I mean, I am, but once you get into this space, the reality of how well you can keep up with someone like Novak that only looks like he's getting better at this age is just something to marvel at. And with that, going over to the women, it's like Serena's 5-1 to win and Ash Barty's 6-1. Like, what do you think? It's just Coco Gauff is 20-1.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's a little much. I mean,
that is a lot.
You got to remember though, with the futures market and the sports books, they don't want liability. So if Coco being as popular as she is, with everyone remembering the magical run a couple years back, beating Venus in the first round and making, I think, the fourth round, there's going to be a lot of people who want to throw money on her. So the sports books don't really want that massive liability. So they're going to make sure that her odds aren't too favorable for the better.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. Look, this is Serena's best shot. I think everyone agrees with that. The way she looked in Australia was really encouraging. And then, maybe the French was just a matter of getting her fitness up and kind of pulling a Roger Federer, not quite saying it, but really feeling like, okay, I'm not going to be at 100% fitness for Roland Garros, but it'll really get me ready for Wimbledon. And I think we kind of saw that. And look, I don't favor Serena really against the field at this point at all. I don't know how you could, just with her inconsistencies, and I worry about her ability to just kind of fight through players who defend really well and lengthen rallies. But she's in a decent section. We'll see, she'll probably play Kerber. That'll be her first really, really tough test. Should be a fascinating match. Yeah. And we'll see. I think if she gets to the quarterfinal, I think she's in the final. And then it's how do her nerves hold up? Because God, she's lost a bunch of finals in a row. And, since coming back from pregnancy, I think she's 0-4 in major finals. And let me just be clear, it has nothing to do with pregnancy.
No,
it's just a period of time. It's just a period of time in which she's come back. And I think after losing 2 in a row and being so close to Margaret Court at 23, I think it's just gotten in her head a little bit. I thought it was clear at the U.S. Open final when she played Andreescu. I just think it was clear that it was in her head a little bit that she had lost so many major finals in a row.
Yeah, and I think for her at least, too, she's on Ash Barty's side. So if they were to meet, they would meet in the semifinal. Same with Andreescu, same with Svitolina. Svitolina, she would meet in the quarters if she played her, but Svitolina is one of those anomalies. She'll be a top 5 seed at Grand Slams, but somehow crash out in like the second or third round to someone.
Yeah, totally. I don't see her as really a threat.
And that's just like a whole nother subject that we could talk about for probably an hour. But to kind of stick with it in that Serena quarter, Kerber, she would meet in the third round, you said? I believe that's correct. Pavlyuchenkova's in her quarter, so is Muchova, who actually has a 33-1 odds to win the tournament. So
she's good, man.
She is really good, and grass is a good surface for her to play on. The top half is with Andreescu and Barty, and Andreescu's actually playing Cornet, who she lost to in one of the warm-up tournaments leading to Wimbledon, which I thought was a very interesting first-round matchup to see because Andreescu is kind of in that same boat. Like, mentality-wise, she just signed with IMG. She let go of her coach. She seems really focused to get back to what made her great at the U.S. Open, at Indian Wells. But since then, we've kind of seen that, not downfall, but that hesitation of her getting to greatness again.
Yeah, well, there was a period of time, like, when she was coming up in 2019, obviously, she was just winning like everything she was playing. It was just a matter of, was she going to get injured or not? And that was pretty much the equation. But yeah, I mean, now she's actually losing matches when she's healthy. And, I think she'll work through it, but I don't think the grass is really suiting her for some reason. I don't know if it's a movement thing. I don't know if it's like the spin on her forehand just not having as much of an effect. But or maybe it's being rushed a little bit. I think that might be it. The fact that the ball's coming a little bit quicker and she just doesn't have as much time on her forehand side to really, just execute that shot to the best of her ability. I don't see her as a big threat at this tournament, but I also don't like to really count out Bibi Andreescu.
She has this is very interesting because we have Sakkari, Muchova, Kontaveit, and Andreescu all having the same odds to win out at the tournament. And Sakkari is playing really well. Ostapenko actually has more odds than her currently right now at 28-1. So
after winning Eastbourne.
But her and Kerber, it's nice to see them winning again after that long lull of just where the hell are they kind of idea.
Yes. And Kontaveit, who Ostapenko beat in the final, is also someone whose game, you just look at it and you think grass.
Yeah, exactly. Just big hitters. And I think that we have to talk about Sabalenka because she is the 2 seed. She is the third best to win right now with a 10-1 odd. And I keep using these just because it's a point of reference. Her game suits the grass. Whether or not she can channel it, in my opinion, is a whole nother story. And I kind of, when you were describing Andreescu, it kind of made me think of her in that sense where there's just something there that just doesn't equate of not having enough time to really set up her shots.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I think sometime the way it might help her is that she doesn't really need to construct points as much on grass, that she can just, land her bomb and kind of move on with it. It's a winner. Okay, next. And the way she comes forward is nice. So I don't know really what to expect. I do know that I love Rybakina, who's in her area, and I think that is in the round. That would be a 4th round match, and that has been the barrier for Sabalenka, that she just hasn't been able to break, and that's a tough opponent to kind of hit in your troublesome round. So I don't know. I kind of think I'd probably pick Rybakina, especially with the intangible factors there.
Well, Sakkari, she would have to meet Sakkari in the 3rd, and then Muguruza's on that half with her, who is a Wimbledon champion. And on this side as well, we have Venus, so you never really know how she's going to play, but take it for granted. Pliskova's playing Zidansek, and honestly, couldn't really care less, to be honest, because you just know because you just know. Pliskova is the story of women's tennis where it's you get to a point of being so good, you're expected to win things, and you just never win things.
Yeah, and I think maybe she'll have a resurgence, but right now it looks over for her. Right now it looks like she's moving, she's slipping down the rankings, and she's just not playing good tennis for most of this year.
And it's shocking because Vekic versus Potapova actually might be a good match on grass with the amount of hard hitting both of them do. Pegula has a decent draw as well. She would meet Kvitova, I believe, in the 3rd round if she got that far. Keys is the 23 seed somehow, and with all these protected rankings, it just surprises me how many of these players are still ranked in the top 25, because it really does throw the entire draw for a loop.
Yeah, and I've seen some talk in the with men, because it seems like the men have been the ones complaining about it. Like Zverev complained about it, and that's the one that's in my mind. I know that there have been others. I think Rublev too, a little bit less explicitly, but he complained about it as well. But for the women, where the winning has been less consistent for them as a whole, you see a lot more Madison Keys, who have just kind of not been overtaken because that midfield, just
it fluctuates so much.
So it feels like it feels like the WTA protected rankings have made it more funky than the ATPs.
And the one matchup I want to watch, to be honest, is Swiatek versus Sue Shea. That's just going to be the most entertaining thing I'm ever going to see. But I think this is going to be a fun one. I don't know if Serena's my favorite. Neither is Ash Barty. In your words, I'm picking the field, to be honest, over those two, because I just don't. I just genuinely don't know with the amount of good players in this draw. And Ostapenko's playing Leylah Fernandez in the 1st round. Like, no one can catch a break of playing someone that's quote unquote an easy draw.
Yeah. Here's kind of like my thought is this: top quarter, Kontaveit / Barty.
Okay.
Then the next quarter down, Serena / Muhova, and then pretty confident Kvitova in the quarter, in the top half, bottom half, top quarter.
Yeah.
And then I think Rybakina in the very bottom quarter.
Okay.
And then from there, I kind of pick Kvitova or Rybakina.
Really?
Yeah, I really like.
Do you think we're going to see a first-time Grand Slam winner at this?
That's why I kind of feel tempted to pick Rybakina, because that's the player, in the field who sticks out to me. I feel like she's really on her way, and she's 22 years old, a bit of a late bloomer with her size. hopefully the low bounce doesn't bother her too much. That sometimes you see with the taller players don't like that because she's 6 feet. But yeah, I'm tempted to go with her, and Muchova and Kontaveit are kind of my other first time contenders.
I'm just trying to see, like, Kenin hasn't been in this conversation, and I think there's a reason for that. I'm trying to think of anyone else. Mertens as well, but won't last against someone like Kvitova. Like,
Muguruza deserves probably a shout out, because
I agree.
If you were to ask me who's the favorite for Wimbledon for most of the year, I'd say Muguruza, and then she got injured in Charleston and just hasn't been the same since, which it's a shame, because she really looked like maybe the best player in the world for a while here. And I guess you do have the lingering question, like, is she just going to start feeling healthy at any point and then just, reemerge as the favorite?
And Muguruza actually doesn't have that bad of a draw to get to the third round, where she would play Jabeur and then maybe Swiatek or Martic, but I think Bouzkova could actually beat Swiatek in this, because I just think her game is suited for it as well. Like, Muguruza could actually make the quarterfinals in this round and play Rybakina or Sabalenka in the quarters. And I think that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. It's a wild card there.
It's a wild card there. And I think, is there anything else that stands out to you this year that we should look out for, or anyone should look out for at this tournament?
What I'm interested to see is, I think the narrative is so many players who are factors in the field, they don't have a lot of grass court experience. And is that going to materialize with, the veterans having an edge? Or is that just complete, commentary, kind of like people chattering, but doesn't really have any bearing on what's actually going to happen here? And you're going to have players like, I don't know, I guess Andrei Rublev, or on the men's side, or on the women's side, like a Rybakina. Are these players going to be like, yeah, no, this doesn't matter. Like, it's fine. I can win on grass. It doesn't matter that I've only had, 8 to 20 career matches on the surface. I'm fine. And that's kind of what one of the things I'll be watching for.
100%. And I totally agree with you in that sense. I think going into this, I think everyone's going to be either not surprised or really surprised. I really don't think there's an in-between there, because of the amount of, at least on the women's side, for grass court experience, there's not that much there in terms of past winners, besides Serena, Kvitova, Muguruza, and that's about it in Venus.
Yeah.
In terms of getting that far. So thank you again for joining me today. This was a lot of fun. I'm really glad you were able to make time for me. You and your famous gigs that you're having soon.
No. Always time for you, Phil.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Go ahead.
Let's have a hit soon.
100%. And make sure to go check out Gill's channel. I'll leave that down in the description below. If you couldn't tell, it's Monday Match Analysis. Make sure you go check it out and subscribe to his channel. I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for joining. That was perfect, man.